First contact's price. The quantum arrays at the Mauna Kea Deep Space Observatory hummed quietly in the cool Hawaiian night. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the holographic display, her dark eyes reflecting the cascade of data streaming before her. Something wasn't right with the readings from the Carina Nebula. "Run the sequence again, HFY," she commanded the observatory's AI system. The quantum computer processed the request, reconstructing the light patterns captured over the past 6 months. "Analysis complete, Dr. Chen." Confirming anomalous energy signatures detected at coordinates RA 10 hours 45 meters, 03.591s. Deck minus 59 degrees 41, 04.26. Sarah's fingers danced across the haptic interface, zooming into the region. The energy patterns didn't match any known natural phenomena. More concerning was their regularity. Perfect, geometric patterns that spoke of artificial origin. Cross-reference with all known human activity in that sector, she ordered, though she already knew the answer. Humanity's furthest outposts barely reached Mars. This was something else entirely. No match found, Araya confirmed. However, pattern analysis suggests deliberate signal modulation. Probability of artificial origin, 99.87%. Sarah's heart raced as she studied the data. After 15 years of searching the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, she'd finally found it. But something about these signals set off alarm bells in her mind. Their precision, their intensity. This wasn't a greeting. It was a war drum. She reached for her quantum comm unit, hesitating only briefly before activating it. "This is Dr. Chen requesting emergency contact with Director Williams. Authorization code Sierra, Charlie 79 Delta." Within minutes, the holographic form of Director Elena Williams materialized in the observatory. Her expression hardened as Sarah presented the data. "You're certain about this?" Elena asked, her avatar studying the energy patterns. "The signatures match theoretical models for quantum propulsion systems," Sarah explained. "But the scale, we're looking at an armada, Elena, and based on their movement patterns, they're conducting systematic sweep operations, military operations." Elena's hologram paced the observatory floor. "How long?" "At their current velocity, 8 months before they reach our solar system. Maybe less if they have FTL capabilities we haven't detected yet." "The Security Council won't like this," Elena muttered. "Most of them still think climate change is our biggest threat." "Then make them understand," Sarah insisted, pulling up more data. "Look at these energy outputs. Whatever this civilization is, they're centuries ahead of us technologically, if they're hostile. And everything about these patterns suggests they are. We need to prepare. Now." Elena nodded grimly. "Send me everything. I'll convene an emergency session. But Sarah, keep this quiet for now. The last thing we need is global panic." After Elena's hologram disappeared, Sarah turned back to the data streams. Something about the patterns nagged at her. They were too perfect, too structured. She'd studied enough Earth military history to recognize the signs of a force that valued absolute precision and control. Araya, run a comparative analysis between these patterns and all known human military formations throughout history. The AI worked silently for several moments. No direct matches found. However, patterns show significant deviation from human military doctrine. Human formations typically incorporate elements of unpredictability and adaptation. These patterns suggest rigid adherence to predetermined algorithms. Sarah smiled grimly. Perhaps there was hope after all. The aliens, whoever they were, clearly valued order and predictability above all else. And if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was chaos. She spent the next several hours preparing her presentation for the Security Council. Every data point, every analysis had to be perfect. Humanity's survival might depend on convincing a room full of politicians that the greatest threat in human history was approaching from the depths of space. As dawn broke over Mauna Kea, Sarah stepped onto the observatory's balcony. The first rays of sunlight painted the sky in brilliant hues of orange and pink. Soon, those same skies might be filled with alien warships. But as she watched the sun rise over her homeworld, Sarah felt a fierce determination take hold. Humans had survived ice ages, plagues, and their own destructive tendencies. They'd climbed from caves to the stars through sheer stubborn determination. Whatever these aliens were, they were about to learn that humanity wouldn't go quietly into the night. She turned back to her workstation, ready to begin the fight for Earth's survival. The aliens might have technology on their side, but humans had something far more powerful: the ability to adapt, to think creatively, and most importantly, the unshakable will to survive against all odds. The warning bells had been rung. Now it was time to prepare for war. Unity through fire. Commander James Okonjo stood before the newly formed Global Defense Council, his military uniform crisp despite the late hour. The chamber, hidden deep beneath the Swiss Alps, buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from every major nation awaited his report. "The alien fleet has passed Jupiter's orbit," he announced, activating the holographic display. Red dots representing enemy vessels filled the projection. "Our deep space sensors confirm over 300 ships, each carrying enough firepower to level a continent." The Chinese representative leaned forward. "And you're certain your defensive strategy will work, Commander?" James gestured to the quantum tablet in his hands. "The simulations show promise. The aliens, we're calling them the collective based on their behavior patterns, rely heavily on swarm tactics, perfect geometric formations, synchronized movements. But that's their weakness." He pulled up footage from the latest war games. The hologram showed Earth's hastily assembled space fleet engaging in chaotic, seemingly random maneuvers. "Human pilots are unpredictable," James continued. "We've trained them to ignore traditional formation flying. Each squadron leader will have complete tactical autonomy. The collective won't be able to predict our movements because there's no pattern to analyze." The Russian delegate scoffed. "So our great defense plan is chaos." "Controlled chaos," James corrected, "combined with the quantum shielding technology we've developed." Dr. Chen's analysis of their energy signatures helped us create countermeasures. "We can't match their firepower, but we can survive it." The chamber erupted in heated discussion. James understood their skepticism. 6 months ago, these people had been arguing about trade agreements and border disputes. Now they were planning humanity's last stand against an alien invasion. His quantum comm chirped. "Commander, Fleet Captain Patel requests your presence at Luna Base. The first wave of retrofitted ships is ready for inspection." James nodded to the council and strode out. The massive elevator carried him up through the mountain to the surface landing pad where his hypersonic transport waited. Within an hour, he was breaking through Earth's atmosphere. Luna Base sprawled across the moon's surface, a sprawling complex of hangars and launch facilities that hadn't existed 4 months ago. Amazing what humanity could accomplish when faced with extinction. Maya Patel met him at the airlock, her dark hair floating in the low gravity. "Commander, you need to see this." She led him to the main hangar where rows of ships stretched into the distance. Former passenger liners, cargo vessels, and orbital shuttles had been transformed into warships. But it was the newest addition that caught his eye. "Is that the Hyperion?" Maya confirmed. "First of her class, quantum shields, gravity lance weapons, and an AI core that can process combat decisions faster than human reflexes. But here's the beautiful part. The AI doesn't use standard combat algorithms. It learns from human intuition, adapting its strategies in ways the collective won't expect." James ran his hand along the ship's hull. "How many can we build in time?" 5, maybe 6, but they'll make a difference. The collective thinks in absolutes, in mathematical certainties. These ships will show them that humanity doesn't play by their rules." A warning klaxon interrupted them. Maya's quantum comm projected an urgent message from Earth Command. "The collective fleet has accelerated. They'll reach Mars orbit in 72 hours. James squared his shoulders. Then it's time. Launch all ships, combat spacing. Let's show these aliens what humanity can do. The next 3 days were a blur of activity. Ships launched from Luna Base in waves, crews running final checks on weapons and shields. James coordinated with planetary defense installations, making sure every satellite weapon platform and ground-based laser array was ready. In orbit above Mars, automated sensors tracked the approaching collective fleet. Their ships moved in perfect formation, a geometric pattern so precise it seemed almost beautiful. Almost. James stood on the bridge of the Hyperion, watching the tactical display. Around him, humanity's ragtag fleet waited. Converted cargo ships next to purpose-built destroyers, civilian vessels turned warships, all crewed by volunteers who'd stepped forward to defend their world. All ships reporting ready, Commander, Maya announced from her captain's chair. The collective will enter weapons range in 10 minutes. James opened a channel to the fleet. This is Commander Okonjo. In a few minutes, we face an enemy that thinks they know everything about warfare. They believe in perfect formations, in predictable patterns. They expect us to fight like they do. He paused, watching the enemy ships grow larger on the display. But we are human. We are chaos and creativity, determination and defiance. We don't follow their rules. We make our own. Every ship captain has full tactical authority. Fight how you think best. Show them what humanity can do. Okonjo out. The collective fleet emerged from their faster-than-light jump precisely on schedule, their ships arranging themselves in an attack formation that any tactical computer would call perfect. James smiled grimly. Perfect was about to meet unpredictable. All ships, he commanded, engage at will. The human factor. The void between Mars and Earth erupted in chaos as humanity's fleet scattered in every direction. The collective's perfect formation faltered, their ships hesitating as they tried to track targets that refused to follow predictable paths. Multiple targeting solutions lost, Maya reported from the Hyperion's tactical station. Their tracking systems are designed for conventional warfare. They can't maintain locks on our randomized flight patterns. The massive view screen showed Earth's ships executing maneuvers that would make a flight instructor scream. Cargo ships turned warships spun on their axes, firing from unexpected angles. Smaller vessels darted between the collective's capital ships, exploiting blind spots in their geometric formations. Collective ships adjusting formation, the AI announced. Detecting new attack patterns. Analysis suggests they're attempting to create a mathematical model of our tactics. James allowed himself a grim smile. Good luck with that. All ships, implement Chaos Protocol Delta. Switch to your secondary attack patterns. The human fleet's movements became even more erratic. Each captain had memorized multiple combat strategies, switching between them randomly. There was no pattern to predict, no formula to calculate. The first collective ship fell to a converted mining vessel. The alien craft, caught between two seemingly random attack vectors, couldn't adjust its shields fast enough. Quantum-tipped missiles pierced its hull, turning its perfect geometric design into expanding debris. First blood to humanity, Maya announced, but her celebration was cut short. Multiple energy spikes, they're launching a coordinated attack. The collective's response was devastating in its precision. Hundreds of energy beams lanced out simultaneously, creating a killing grid that would have annihilated any conventional fleet. But humanity's ships weren't where they were supposed to be. The Hyperion's AI had predicted the attack pattern seconds before it happened, broadcasting a warning that sent Earth's vessels tumbling in 40 different directions. Damage report, James called out as the Hyperion's quantum shields absorbed a glancing hit. Shields at 80%, Maya responded. Minor damage to outer hull plating. But sir, look at this. The tactical display showed something remarkable. The collected ships were taking exactly 2.47 seconds to recalculate after each failed attack, a pattern within their seemingly perfect system. Dr. Chen was right, James muttered. They can't handle real-time adaptation. Their combat computers have to completely recalculate with each new scenario. He opened a channel to the fleet. All ships pressed the advantage during their reset cycles. Hit them while they're thinking. The battle transformed. Human vessels timed their attacks to exploit those precious seconds when the collected ships were recalculating. Missiles and energy weapons found their marks as the aliens struggled to adapt to warfare that defied their fundamental understanding of combat. "Sir," Maya's voice cut through the chaos. 3 collective capital ships breaking formation. They're retreating. The sight of alien vessels fleeing seemed to energize the human fleet. Ships that should have been hopelessly outmatched pressed their attacks with renewed vigor. The collective's perfect formations began to break apart as their strategic algorithms failed to cope with humanity's controlled chaos. Multiple enemy ships showing signs of combat stress, the Hyperion's AI reported. Their shield harmonics are destabilizing. They cannot maintain optimal defense patterns against randomized attack vectors. James watched as another collective vessel succumbed to the human assault. They expected us to fight like them, to follow the rules of engagement they understood. Instead, we showed them that real combat isn't about mathematical perfection. It's about adaptation, intuition, and the will to survive. The battle raged for hours. Earth's fleet took losses, brave crews who sacrificed everything to protect their homeworld. But for every human ship lost, the collective lost 3. Their superior technology couldn't compensate for their rigid tactical thinking. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the remaining collective ships began to withdraw. Their retreat was as perfectly coordinated as their attack had been, but it was still a retreat. "They're pulling back to regroup," Maya said, checking her displays. Long-range sensors show them returning to their staging area beyond Mars orbit. James nodded, already anticipating their next move. "They'll be back. This was just their first attempt, a probe to test our capabilities. Next time, they'll try to adapt to our tactics." "Let them try," Maya replied with fierce determination. "We'll just create new ones. That's what humans do. We adapt, we improvise, we overcome." The bridge crew cheered as the last collective ship disappeared from their sensors. Humanity had won its first major space battle, proving that determination and creativity could triumph over technological superiority. But as James studied the tactical data from the engagement, he knew this was just the beginning. The collective would analyze every detail of the battle, trying to find patterns in the chaos. They would return with new strategies, new attempts to impose their mathematical precision on human unpredictability. They would learn, however slowly, that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or their ships. It was in their ability to think differently, to act irrationally when rational thought would mean defeat, to find solutions where none should exist. The first battle was over. The real war was just beginning. Breaking the pattern. Dr. Sarah Chen hadn't slept in 36 hours. The holographic displays surrounding her workstation at Luna Base pulsed with captured data from the recent battle. Something about the collective's communication patterns kept nagging at her mind. "Area, run spectral analysis on enemy communication frequencies during their tactical resets," she commanded, rubbing her tired eyes. "Focus on the quantum variance patterns." The AI processed the request, generating complex waveforms that floated in the air around her. Sarah studied them intently, her years of experience in quantum astronomy letting her see patterns that others might miss. "Wait," she muttered. "Area. Overlay their ship formation changes with the communication spikes." The display shifted, and suddenly Sarah saw it. Every time the collective's ships changed formation, there was a microscopic delay in their quantum communications, a vulnerability in their perfect system. Her fingers flew across the haptic interface. The whole fleet operates on a quantum-entangled network. That's how they maintain such precise coordination. But during tactical resets, they have to reestablish quantum sync across all ships. "Incoming transmission from the Hyperion," Araya announced. "Commander Okanjo requests an update on your analysis." James's hologram appeared in the lab. "Tell me you found something, Sarah. Our guerrilla tactics are working, but the collective is starting to adapt. They're learning to predict our unpredictability." Sarah pulled up her latest findings. "Look at these communication patterns. Their entire fleet operates as a single quantum-linked organism. It's incredibly efficient, but it has a critical flaw. During tactical resets, there's a 2.47-second window where their quantum sync is vulnerable. The same window we've been exploiting for attacks," James noted, "but they're starting to compensate for that. Their reset times are getting shorter." "Yes, but what if we could disrupt their quantum sync completely?" Sarah's eyes gleamed with possibility. "A targeted quantum pulse, precisely timed. We could shatter their network. Force each ship to operate independently." James grasped the implications immediately. They'd lose their perfect coordination, have to think and fight as individuals rather than a collective. He paused. "Can you build something that could generate that kind of pulse?" "Maybe. I'll need help." Sarah was already making calculations. "And we'll only get one shot. Once they see what we're trying to do, they'll adapt their quantum frequencies." While Sarah worked on the quantum disruptor, humanity's fleet engaged in a deadly game of cat and mouse throughout the solar system. Small squadrons of Earth ships would appear from hiding spots in asteroid fields, strike collective patrols, and vanish before the aliens could mount an organized response. Captain Maya Patel led many of these raids, pushing the Hyperion and its crew to their limits. Her ship's advanced AI learned from each engagement, developing ever more unpredictable attack patterns. "Contact." Maya's tactical officer called out during one such raid. 3 collective cruisers just dropped out of FTL. Standard search pattern Delta. Maya smiled. The aliens' adherence to standard patterns made them predictable, even as they tried to adapt to human tactics. "Take us in behind that ice fragment. Charge the gravity lance, but keep our power signature minimal." The Hyperion glided silently through space, its quantum shields configured to absorb enemy sensor scans. The collective ships moved in their typical geometric pattern, sweeping the asteroid field for human vessels. "They're still trying to apply mathematical models to warfare," Maya observed. "They don't understand that humans have been perfecting irregular warfare since we first picked up stones to throw at larger predators." The Hyperion struck without warning. Its gravity lance punched through one collective ship's shields, the focused gravitational beam tearing the vessel apart. Before the other 2 ships could respond, Maya's vessel was already moving, using the debris field from their destroyed companion as cover. "Multiple quantum pulses," the tactical officer warned. "They're trying to predict our exit vector." "So let's be unpredictable," Maya replied. "Full power to the engines. Take us straight at them." The Hyperion burst through the debris field, charging directly at the remaining collective ships. The alien vessels hesitated for 2.47 seconds, their standard tactical reset time, clearly not expecting such an aggressive maneuver from an inferior force. That hesitation was all the Hyperion needed. Point defense weapons blazed, targeting sensor arrays and weapon ports. The collective ships returned fire, but their shots were aimed where human tactical doctrine said the Hyperion should be, not where it actually was. "Status of the quantum disruptor?" Maya asked as her ship dove between the 2 alien vessels. "Dr. Chen reports 70% completion," her communications officer replied. "She says they're ready for preliminary testing." Back at Luna Base, Sarah and her team worked frantically to complete the device that might turn the tide of the war. The quantum disruptor looked deceptively simple, a sphere of crystalline matrices surrounding a pulsing core of exotic matter. "Power up test sequence," Sarah ordered, monitoring the quantum fields carefully. "Start at 10% capacity." The device hummed to life, generating waves of quantum interference that rippled through spacetime itself. On her monitors, Sarah watched as the pulses disrupted local quantum communications. "Test successful at local range," she reported to James. "But to affect their entire fleet, we'll need to get this inside their formation. close enough that the pulse can propagate through their existing quantum network. James's hologram nodded grimly. I'll have Maya begin planning the operation. We'll only get one chance at this. The collective's learning, Sarah warned. Each engagement gives them more data to analyze. They're starting to see patterns even in our randomness. We need to move soon. As if to emphasize her point, alarms blared throughout the base. Multiple FTL signatures detected. A voice announced over the communication system. Collective fleet returning in force. Over 500 ships detected. The enemy had grown tired of humanity's guerrilla tactics. They were coming to end this war with overwhelming force. But they still didn't understand their fundamental weakness, their reliance on perfect coordination, on predictable patterns, on quantum-linked communication that made them strong but vulnerable. Sarah looked at the quantum disruptor, hoping this small device could help humanity turn the tide. The final battle was approaching, and with it the ultimate test of human adaptability against alien precision. Tomorrow's victory. The massive collective fleet filled the space between Mars and Earth, their ships arranged in a perfect spherical formation that would have made any mathematician weep with joy. Over 500 vessels, each capable of reducing a continent to ash, moved with synchronized precision toward humanity's homeworld. On the bridge of the Hyperion, Commander James Okonjo watched the enemy approach. The quantum disruptor sat in a specially modified launch tube, its crystalline surface pulsing with barely contained energy. All ships in position, Maya reported from her captain's chair. The fleet is ready. Earth's remaining vessels had taken up seemingly random positions throughout the solar system. To the collective sensors, they must have looked scattered and disorganized. That was exactly what James wanted them to think. Dr. Chen, he called to the scientist's hologram. Final status on the disruptor. Sarah's image flickered slightly as she checked her readings. Ready for deployment. Remember, we'll only have one shot at this. The pulse has to propagate through their quantum network while they're conducting a tactical reset. James nodded, then opened a channel to all Earth ships. This is Commander Okonjo. In a few minutes, we face our final battle against an enemy that believes technology and precision are everything. They think they've learned to predict us, to calculate our chaos. He paused, looking at the determined faces of his bridge crew. But they're wrong. Every time they think they understand us, we show them something new. Every pattern they discovered is just a shadow of what we're really capable of. We are human. We are unpredictable. And today, we show them that mathematics alone cannot win a war. The collective fleet moved closer, their formation shifting slightly as they prepared for battle. James watched their movements carefully, recognizing the patterns from previous engagements. They're setting up their standard attack grid, Maya observed. Looks like they're planning to trap us between geometric firing solutions. Then let's give them something new to calculate, James replied. All ships, execute Operation Chaos Storm. Earth's fleet erupted into action. But instead of the scattered, random attacks the collective had come to expect, humanity's ships moved with their own kind of coordination. Squadrons that appeared to be fleeing suddenly turned to attack. Vessels that seemed isolated were suddenly supported by hidden allies. The collective's perfect formation held as they responded to the attack, their ships moving in mathematically optimal patterns to counter each human thrust. But something was different about their responses. Their reset time is down to 1.89 seconds, Sarah reported, monitoring the quantum fluctuations. They're learning, adapting their algorithms. Good, James said with a grim smile. That means they're committing more processing power to their quantum network. Maya, begin Phase 2. The Hyperion dove straight toward the heart of the collective fleet, its quantum shields blazing as it absorbed enemy fire. Other human ships followed, each taking seemingly suicidal attack vectors that forced the alien vessels to continuously recalculate their defense patterns. Multiple targeting solutions, Maya's tactical officer shouted. They're trying to box us in. Stay on course, Maya ordered, her hand steady on the controls. Push their prediction algorithms to the limit. The collective's response was devastating. Hundreds of energy beams crossed space in precisely calculated patterns, creating a killing grid that no human tactical doctrine would attempt to navigate through. But the Hyperion and its companions weren't following any doctrine. Each ship plotted its own crazy course through the storm of fire, taking hits but surviving through sheer unpredictability. Quantum network load at maximum, Sarah announced. Their entire fleet is linked, trying to coordinate their defense. Launch window in 30 seconds. James watched the tactical display as human ships seemed to retreat in every direction. The collective fleet moved to pursue, their formation expanding slightly to maintain optimal firing solutions. Now, Sarah called. The quantum disruptor launched from the Hyperion's tube, its crystalline surface beginning to pulse with increasing frequency. For 1.89 seconds, the collective ships began their standard tactical reset, their quantum network synchronizing across all vessels. In that moment, the disruptor detonated. A wave of quantum interference rippled through space, invisible but devastating. The pulse propagated through the collective's own network, amplified by their linked communication system. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Ships that had moved in perfect harmony suddenly lost coordination. The mathematical precision of their formation dissolved into confusion as each vessel's quantum links were severed. Direct hits on multiple targets, Maya reported with fierce satisfaction. They're operating independently now. No more collective consciousness. James opened a channel to all Earth ships. All vessels, attack at will. Show them what humanity can really do. Without their quantum-linked coordination, the technological superiority of the collective ships meant less. Each alien vessel was now forced to think and fight for itself, something they had never been designed to do. Human ships struck from every angle, their attacks now truly random and unpredictable. The collective vessels tried to regroup, to re-establish their patterns, but each attempt at coordination was met with chaos. They're breaking formation, Maya announced as the battle reached its peak. Multiple ships attempting emergency FTL jumps. The retreat began slowly at first, then accelerated as more collective ships lost their nerve. Vessels that had never been programmed to operate independently chose flight over continued combat. Hours later, as the last enemy ships disappeared into FTL, James stood in Luna Base's command center with Sarah and Maya, watching the final battle reports come in. They'll be back, Sarah said quietly. They'll try to adapt, to create new algorithms that can handle our chaos. Let them try, Maya replied. We'll just show them something new. James nodded, looking out at Earth shining blue and peaceful in the viewport. That's what they never understood. You can't calculate the human spirit. You can't predict determination or courage. They thought war was mathematics, but we showed them it's art. The victory hadn't come without cost. Many brave crews had sacrificed everything to give humanity this chance, but they had proved something that would echo across the galaxy. Technology alone wasn't enough. The human capacity for innovation, for unpredictability, for thinking beyond patterns and calculations, was a force that even the most advanced civilization couldn't simply program away. As the sun rose over Earth, humanity looked to the stars not with fear, but with determination. They had faced extinction and survived through creativity, courage, and chaos. Whatever came next, they would be ready, because they were human, and that was the most unpredictable force in the universe.